Hey everybody, it's Lynn from A Bit of Birdsong, and once again, it is Saturday morning. I love Saturday mornings, um, and I'm not out in the workshop right now. I'm in my lovely dining room, and this is my secondary craft area. I've pretty much taken it over, um, but I'm I'm not from a different country this morning. I just woke up. I'm going to share with you a journal that I made, and it's all about birds. So we will do that. And I wanted to also share a couple of packs of paper and ephemera and cards and things that I put aside as I was doing my journal. So I'll be listing those in the shop in just a little bit. But I did want to speak to everyone before I do the journal share. So with that, we'll get started. Okay, so let's talk about this pretty journal that I made. I've been working on this for the past few days and had a lot of things put to the side that were bird related and just really pretty old book pages, and I found some lovely paper that is vintage and it's office type paper, you know, the ledger paper, accountant sheets. And as I was doing this journal, I put aside a couple of stacks of duplicates, if you will. So I'm going to be listing in a few minutes a couple of really large packs of just paper and fabric, the stuff that I used to make this. I will say that the pen is something that's just, I had that for mine, so I don't have those going into the packs, and this charm is something that I put on my journal. It reminded me of a bird's eye. I love that. I wish I had more of these to include, but I don't, and I just really want you to see that bird pen. I found that recently at a local, it's like a thrift / antique store. I love to go there. She buys estates, and then she has a house that is a store. So it's a 2-story really old house in Durham, and you can just go all through the house and it's full of stuff. It's a little bit junky, but it's fun to go look for treasures. I think I paid $1 for that. Maybe not even that much, honestly, but isn't it pretty? And I've got my little stamped fabric piece that says Boho Birds, and I did that because there are birds everywhere, and I love birds. I know you do too. We all love birds. They make every place prettier. So with that, let's just get started. I love this fabric, by the way. I've kind of got this trim on the outside, so you can't really see this full piece of fabric, but I'll be showing you in a minute what it looks like without the trim on it. And then the inside, I love the blue, that just pale blue stripes. It reminds me of ticking, the fabric on the old mattresses. Got my little tag there with the bird stamped on it. And there's a blue jay. I like blue jays, but I know they can be a little bit overbearing with other birds. This journal is just full of places to write and take notes, and beautiful paper. I've already put a note in mine about something I saw in the backyard last week. I looked out, and I have, by the way, a compost area where I put eggshells and coffee grounds or coffee grinds. I know people say that in different ways in different places. But we put vegetable and fruit scraps and things like that. And I looked out, and this very large crow, and we have really just we have several, well, a lot of crows in the backyard. We have quite a few pine trees, and they are always around and in those trees, and they're loud and they talk, and they're really smart birds. But I looked out and I saw this crow coming across the backyard with an eggshell in its mouth, but it was just a complete half a shell. So it was like a helmet over this crow's face. It was holding it, and then the shell was arched up over its face. It could hardly see to walk. Well, it couldn't see to walk. So it was kind of weaving around, and then it dropped the eggshell, and I've never seen a bird do this. It began to pick up big piles of pine straw with its beak and put it over the eggshell. So it buried it in pine straw. I just stood there watching, but I made a little note of that in my bird journal. This is interesting. This page came from a packet. Let me show you some of these pages. I found this stack of papers in an envelope where someone had been working on a quilt. The front of the envelope said bird quilt, and whoever did this made all these little tracings and sketches of their quilt, which I think is just amazing. I want to try to scan these. I think that would be really, really nice to scan those and make some journal cards for a, if you were doing like a sewing type journal or a bird journal. So we have some old images and pages from a bird book. And then there's a page from the ledger paper that I found. Just a bright calendar page. I backed it with this because I didn't want the squares and the numbers on the calendar to show in this journal. Sometimes I like that, and sometimes I don't want that effect. There's a little hiding spot. And just another blank piece of paper for writing. And here is a page from a book that I have that is full of illustrations of old playing cards. You've probably seen some of those pages before in my things. I love that book. Bright paper. So this is a mix of newer and older stuff. I had a few little pieces of gift wrap that was left over, so I cut out one of the butterflies and just glued it in the center on this page. These packs have wallpaper and fabric. I just cut around an image and sewed that in because of course you see birds outside or inside if you have pets. Pet birds like parakeets or parrots, cockatiels. And there's another page where I just sewed the fabric and put a little bird's nest there. And I love this. This has been one of my favorite resources. A really large book with copies of paintings and sketches and things that were done, I think, the late 1800s. And he was just a well-known botanical artist. I should have his name. I'll try to put that in the description. Another book page and just some bright places to write. This is kind of neat. I'm probably just the last one figuring this out, but Jason gave me a handful of these. They're in packaging for dress shirts, and he said you might be able to use these for your journals. And on first glance I thought, well, it probably won't stay in, but then it does. It's so neat. It's like a little paper clip. There are postage stamps in here. I love that bead. The 2 packs that I have, each one has a bead. They're not this color. We will get to those. They're different colors. And then there's a postcard. I love that. The eagle's definitely a boho bird, in my opinion. I used to think they were really fierce hunters until I found out that they take a lot of things from the osprey. They let the osprey hunt and then they steal it. So I guess that's being fierce in its own way, but it's also kind of lazy. There is a page from a vintage insect book. Another page from the vintage cards. I love that. I would love to have some of these antique playing cards. So neat. And just more pages to write on, and that's wallpaper, by the way. And this little tag. It's the little fairy having a conversation with the toad. Another tag. A lot of pretty images in here, and the fabric. I love that bright color. And again, more bright color with the map pages. Another piece of wallpaper with a little bit more of that same fabric. And well, we will get to this calendar page in a minute. But I just made a little writing card, journal card, out of a larger card that is in each pack. And of course the bright money, and birds are kind of known for sometimes having an eye for shiny things, and they will swoop down and take things, especially certain kinds of birds, but the money kind of ties in with that. There wasn't really a way to attach coins and be able to write on them, so I used the bright paper money. And we know that cats love to watch birds, so there's this piece of stationery and the envelope that goes with it, and I just hid mine under this ribbon trim that I put on the edge of the page. Let's do it this way. Come on now, in there. And there's a pretty page with birds, very bright, more wallpaper, and I love this trim. It's just a crocheted. Oh, and I bet a lot of you recently saw the video that was published on Ephemera's Garden YouTube channel. I'm so glad that she posted that, because I have quite a few of these and had no idea what to do with them. So I will link that video. I'm so glad she shared that. That's just so cute, though. I put the little image of the parakeet in there and then glued it onto the page. It's so bright. There's another tag, a paper clip with some flower petals, and some really, this paper is so nice. It actually had a watermark, or whatever you call that. I guess that's what it is. And it looked like an eagle, so I wondered if somehow it was like military paper. I know my dad was in, and sometimes his letters and things would be written on this really nice, well, of course it would be vintage at this point, so it may have changed, but so this is a calendar page. I love this. This is just the neatest picture. At first it looks like get out of my face, but I had to wonder about this because I know during mating season, cardinals, sometimes the male and the female, they almost look like they're kissing, but as part of the whole mating ritual, the male will feed the female sometimes. And it does look like this bird has got something in its beak, but that doesn't look like a baby. It looks like a male and a female. So anyway, that's just really pretty. And there's a page with some lace trim, and you know I love to do the beautiful images in the center of my books, and she's just lovely. I don't know of many women or girls who don't love birds. And there is a little tassel that I cut off of some upholstery trim and threaded some embroidery thread through there to make a little charm for the page. Here's an image from the book, The Crested Flycatcher. This looks kind of mosaic at a distance, but it's fast food. It's some washi tape, and think about all the birds I see in the parking lot at McDonald's trying to get a French fry or two. Another vintage vintage insect page. The striped cucumber beetle. I don't think these are things we want to see in our vegetables. So anyway, I don't like spraying or killing insects, but I know that there are some that would totally destroy a crop. It's a balance, I guess. And I've heard farmers say you always have to plant extra for nature, because nature will take part of it. And I like that bright, pretty page with the stamp. It's a little envelope with a card for journaling. Another pretty tag. And more plain paper. This page, and this is just a bright card, I'll share that. This is from this one little pocket, a vintage calendar page. I'll show you a full one when we get to the packets that I have. But it's from a local, we have the Eno River that runs through here, and there's a lot of wildlife on the Eno River, and it's just a place where at different little spots throughout Durham and Hillsborough you can enjoy the Eno River. And it's not this super large river, so in some places you really wouldn't even know that it's part of the Eno River. But that calendar was all about the Eno for the year, so had some really pretty pages in it. Another bird book page. More wallpaper, and can you see he's holding a bird? And these are some interesting pockets that I found recently. Let me show you. They're just really heavy. So I only sewed around the top of mine, and I didn't want to, for one thing, this is really thick, and my sewing machine, knock on wood as they say, has been wonderful. I've been using it for 30 years. I bought it when I was expecting my first son so that I could make maternity clothes, and it is still going, but sometimes I do kind of give heed to not trying to sew through something that's too thick. The other thing is that I didn't want to get into my space here. So, I don't know. I may glue this part down because I don't want it to tear this page. It's a heavy pocket. And it could have gone in the back, but I didn't really want to cover up that pretty fabric with paper. I wanted the muslin on top. There's part of that calendar page. So pretty. There is some of that vintage ledger paper. It's got the accountant stamp somewhere. I'll show you more of that later. I love this page. Just love the way this turned out. I love the little parakeet and the foliage in the background and that pretty pink. That's just a pretty page to me. I love this bright page. And then there's another bird on the back. I love paper. I know we all do. Oh, just love it. And there's a pretty page. A little pocket there. I'll try to go ahead and flip through this and just go through quickly. Postage stamp. Oh, and I love this. Look how bright and pretty that is. I love birds. I'm going to say that again. I love birds. So, there is a mama and baby. So, this is the journal. And now I want to share with you the packets that are going into the shop. Okay, so I want to share these things that I put aside as I was doing my bird journal. And again, I have a couple of packs that are going into the shop in just a little bit. There are fabric elements and trim and paper. Let me stack all of this up so we can go through it. And I will try to do this quickly I know everybody has a busy life and things to do. Little paper clip with some flower petals. There's the little stamped fabric that says Boho Birds. And here is one of the little negative sleeves. Oh, that's actually a neat little image in there. It really is. It looks like a couple of wheelbarrows with stuff in it. So there's a key charm. There is one of those little bead charms and a couple of other things. Oops, wrong one. And this was really fun. This is just little paper scraps from this whole project. Looks like there's actually a little piece of fabric in there. And I just cut these up and put them to the side as I was going. So they're fun, really fun to make, little tiny pockets and tabs. Here are fabric pieces like what you saw in my journal. And a big piece of the muslin that I used to make my pocket. There's some ribbon trim, embroidery thread. I love this bright color. And here is a pretty large piece. It's long and narrow, but I cut it this way so that we don't lose any of the images. So you could cut from this to have pockets or embellishments to sew onto your pages. And here are just some various pieces of trim that you can use. Bright ribbon, this beautiful trim. This is one of my favorites that I've seen in a long time. More lace and sheer ribbon. This is what I used to make the little tuck spot to put the cat card in. That's beautiful. I think this trim came off of some clothing. I found a whole bunch of this. I think it must have come off of a really large or a skirt that was very full. So it's kind of thick, it's kind of bulky to sew onto, but I did sew a little piece into my journal. You could glue it as well. More lace. There's some of the crochet trim and some more embroidery thread. There's that reminded me of feathers. I thought that was perfect for the journal. There's another piece of that. And here is this beautiful, beautiful bird-themed fabric. I love this. Let's see, there's 12. I'd say a good 18 inches across. I won't count that little, is that the selvage? I'm not sure what you call that. So, yeah, that's a really ample size to make a cover and have a little bit left over. And then we have this piece that was the inside of mine. And of course I ended up with the 9x6 size journal. So that's what size that would be for a couple of little tags. There's one of those heavy pockets and some beautiful bird images. Just, oh, I love that owl. So pretty. This is a really fun piece of wallpaper. It's got the vintage looking bees on it. I love the way that's put on there. And there's just a card. This, I just love the bright color. And it's a place where you can write. Youth has no age. I love that. There's some of the bright money to make notes on. Another bird image, the bright card. There's a little piece of scrapbook paper. More bird pages. It was a book like this from which I took my little bird image to do the little negative. It ends up like a little picture. It looks like a portrait. So it's the little case that holds the negative though. And thank you to Ephemera's Garden for sharing that wonderful idea. More wallpaper. Here are a couple of book pages that have beautiful flowers. Here are some tags, including the little bird. And I actually even put one of those little things that came from the shirt packaging. Get all of those. There's another pretty image. Here's the card. Beautiful flower postcards. There's that card. And more wallpaper. Get the butterfly on that. There's a coloring page from a bird coloring book. And here is this beautiful accountant ledger paper. Love that. Just a nice sheet of yellow paper. There's the cat stationery with the matching envelope. More wallpaper and a little music page. Another bird card. And more bright paper. More book pages with flowers. There's a lot in here. And it's a very themed, cohesive pack. So you could easily make a bird journal and have material left over, which I really like. That's the way I like to do my packages. A vintage card and just the flowers. A couple more little tabs or paper scraps. There's a couple of pages of the ledger paper. And another one of those really nice heavy stationery papers. Cards. There's a couple, or actually 3 of the pages from the vintage insect booklet. The other one might have 2. I'm not sure. Maybe it has 3 though. I thought I put in 2, but it could be 3. More birds. There is a file folder that's cut down, ready to use. And here are some fun postage stamps. I think those are actually stamps from Easter seals, if you remember those. And then those are fun with the numbers. I think these were actually Christmas stamps, but to me they don't even look like Christmas. They're just the bright, fun numbers. And then just a few others. Looks like there's actually a couple more in there. Yeah. And beautiful calendar pages. You could back this so that the lines and the boxes don't show. All sorts of birds. You can actually make a really educational little book here. And more pages from vintage book about birds. And there are some pages from the book that has the vintage playing cards. Love this book. This one actually has some birds on it. And here we have more pages from a bird book. And there is one of the pages from the pack that I found where the lady had planned out her quilt. This is just beautiful. It really is. I wish I had more of those. And then here are a couple of very large pages from a calendar that was centered around our local Eno River. And the paper's beautiful. It has a wonderful feel to it. I love that the backs are blank and it's nice quality to write on. And I love that it had the illustrations on every page of different kinds of mushrooms. I think that was one of my favorite parts. There's a couple of these. There's that beautiful Alaska postcard. More paper. Another calendar page. More paper. And then finally, here is a page from that beautiful, beautiful book with the illustrations of the roses. And that goes way back I will try very hard to remember to put the name of this illustrator from back then, the painter. He was very sought after, and I think he was kind of picked out and given the opportunity to have a nice job, you know, in that time frame for illustrating, and he was very admired for his work. So that's it. These will be going into the shop in just a little bit. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.